Virginia law authorizes the remote participation of board members, provided that a policy exists to ensure that such remote participation is consistently administered. This board has approved policy 111. Any such remote attendance must be approved by the board as long as a physical quorum of the board is actually present, which it is. Voices of the remote participants are able to be heard by everyone in the room, and the remote participation complies with the policy. So there are at least 2 and potentially 3 members who may be participating remotely tonight. At present, Mr. Khan, Faisal Khan, is on the line. Faisal, are you connected to this meeting remote?
Yes, I'm at my residence in Providence District.
I move that Faisal Khan's voice may be adequately heard in this location.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nay.
Aye.
Motion carries. Pursuant to the Park Authority's policy 111 for remote participation in public meetings. I'm sorry, that's there's a second section.
You gotta get that.
Is Abena here?
Yeah, he is.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Abena Adu Houghton, are you connected to this meeting remotely?
Yes, I'm joining from my residence in the Franconia district.
I move that Abena Adu Houghton's voice may be adequately heard in this location.
Bill Bowie, second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. So pursuant to the Park Authority's policy for remote participation in public meetings, I move that Abena Adu Houghton and Faisal Khan be permitted to participate remotely in this meeting because it comports with the policy we adopted, and a physical quorum is present here at the Heritage Building Park Authority Board.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. So now we may move on to our agenda. First up is Planning and Development Committee. Linwood, you have the floor.
Planning and Development. First presentation on programs. That you? You, Chad?
It's my job.
Oh, no, I was just gonna do it. Okay.
I hope it is.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're glad to continue the conversation with you on our bond strategy. As you may recall, last time we spoke about the range of things that we have within our $180 million bond package, including Bag of Rocks. And we spoke quite a bit about the recreation centers and that, if you will, big rock within the bag. Today, next slide, please. We're moving forward with the conversations and focusing on new construction and whole parks. And you'll see as we go through the remainder of the month, we're going through subject by subject. But today we will start with the new construction presentation with Laura Grape and also with Marissa Devon. So I'll turn it over to Laura and Marissa.
Great. Well, good evening. I'm Laura Grape, Resource Management and Interpretation Division Director. And yes, I'm joined by Marissa Devon, who is representing Gulf Enterprises today. So we are here to share our process for the new construction ROC, which is the planning, sorry, next slide, please. Which is the planning, design and construction of new park facilities, amenities to add new, to meet new demand, add functionality and expand our capacity at an existing facility or site. $10 million has been identified currently for this ROC. And new amenities at existing parks can include anything from playgrounds to sports courts, skate parks, trails, enterprise facilities, revenue generating amenities, or splash pads. And we have examples throughout our park system where we've made these types of investments, everything from the Greenbrier pickleball courts that you see here, the futsal court at Stratton Woods, and the inline skate rink at Lake Fairfax. So this is something that we have done quite a bit of. Next slide, please. The new construction subcategories that have been identified as part of this process include our trails, amenities, new amenities again, such as playground, shelters, and athletic courts, enterprise facilities, and potential public-private partnership opportunities. Next slide, please. All of our current studies are feeding into the larger decision-making processes for determining where new construction priorities will take place for this bond. And as Jay has mentioned previously, this is all part of our efforts to make this a data-driven approach. Many of these studies are already underway and in progress, and their recommendations will be incorporated into our annual work plans that will come before the board. Next slide, please. I wanted to give you a few examples of the types of projects that may be incorporated into our work plans and our general approach. From our needs assessment, we know that trails and accessible crossings are a top priority and interest of our community. And we're working on that countywide trail plan to help prioritize where those projects are located across the county. Our cost per mile roughly for a new hard surface trail is about $1.1 million. And for our ADA accessible bridges, they range, because of their span, everywhere from $50,000 to about $250,000. We're also working on our new amenities studies, the playground study, as well as PROSA, inform where there are gaps and needs across our system. And that will again help to identify and inform our priorities. Enterprise facilities are also based on demand, and they're informed by business plans and revenue analyses that take place. And Marissa is here to share an example of that with our short course, our proposed short course at the Laurel Hill Golf Center. So Marissa, I'll turn it over to you to just introduce that project.
Thank you. So essentially a short course would just be a more compact golf course. It's primarily made up of par threes, and it's designed to play much faster than a traditional golf course. So short courses are an increasing trend across the country. Many of them are being developed because they generate new high margin revenue, and they're also inexpensive to maintain. So we conducted a business plan and revenue analysis to determine feasibility, return of investment, and gross and net profit revenue. So we found that adding a short course to an existing 18-hole championship course such as Laurel Hill would create significant operational and strategic value. It provides and increases access by offering a welcoming, low-pressure environment that encourages community engagement, long-term participation, and growth across the facility.
Great, thank you, Marissa. We also want to make sure that we are incorporating opportunities for flexibility over the next 6 years, again, to invite those public-private partnership opportunities as they arise. We recognize that selecting these projects is going to be a balancing act as we start to take that big rock and break off chunks for different types of projects. For example, investing in this short course or investing in meeting those needs for our playground gaps and deserts, filling those gaps. There may be fewer resources for other subcategories, so that's something we'll have to take into consideration and continue to monitor. Next slide, please. Also, our recommended projects that will be part of our work plan must align with the cash flow constraints that we also have. These constraints will be determined at the start of each fiscal year, and we will set our planning framework so that we are optimizing our resources. Next slide, please. Also, as I mentioned, these new projects will be presented annually to the board for consideration. Again, I'll just reiterate, it's going to be a balancing act as we're kind of chiseling away at that rock. But planning efforts will inform ultimately the priorities that come to you. Next slide. So thank you. We're happy to answer any questions.
I'm sorry. Will the short course, if we decide to go in that direction, will that be a separate line of business, and will it require a separate membership outside of the regular Laurel Hill membership in order to play?
Likely not. We would not likely have a membership for a short course, because the point of a short course really is to make it as accessible as possible, both financially as well as a time commitment. So we would not have a membership.
So it would be more like mini golf.
Yes, but much longer holes.
Yeah.
Much longer.
Where it's a,
Yeah, right.
where it's a demand to play.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And it wouldn't require you to set tee times or anything else, or?
It may.
It
It may. Yeah.
Thank you.
This is in my magisterial district. I wish I had heard about this before.
And what we presented today are just ideas. Yeah.
And that's kind of was my next question. Have you moved forward with the idea enough to actually have a proposed area or an idea where on Laurel Hill you would put it?
We have an idea. We do not have a design, both with the short course that was mentioned, as well as the field house and the yurts. We would look at campgrounds, but we haven't identified a specific location for any of them. They're just revenue generating ideas that have been raised.
I'm sensing that you don't really want to talk about at a public meeting exactly what your concepts are at this point, because they're not developed very well.
Correct.
Anyway, but if you could call me tomorrow and get me up to speed on what they are, I'd appreciate that. The concepts.
We don't have
We don't
concept.
have concepts yet.
Oh, you're saying-
We have ideas for projects, which we gave you a couple of examples of, but as we work through the work plan for the next 6 years, we would bring more flushed out projects that we feel, both from, infill development with new playgrounds, as well as proposals for revenue generating or enterprise.
So this particular idea, again, if somebody could call me offline and talk to me about what your thoughts are at this point, I appreciate that. Will that be Nigel or?
Ryan Carmen, the director of golf.
Thank you.
So for this list, I just want to make the probability that that's going to be, well, we'll see.
No, I
The most
understand.
expensive thing. So the whole point of proposing different things is that this is going to be a balancing act. So we're going to bring, you can choose a short course. That's all you get. So that means no new playgrounds, no new anything. So part of that thing is when we think, okay, we're going to bring it to you, that might be one of those big ticket. You can spend all of it on one item, or we can do trails and other stuff, or we could be looking at other ways that we can fund it, like through an EDA bond or a revenue bond, and then we can talk about that and like later on. But none of these are we're proposing. This is what we're showing is this is what we're proposing the amount to be in that rock for the future. There is no proposal for the short, like I haven't let Marissa get any farther besides saying the word short course, right? As to the what's called, but we needed an example of a big idea, a medium-sized idea, smaller ideas. We can pick a whole bunch of little pebbles that are really impactful, or we can pick one big thing, or we can do, which we can't do all of it.
And I mean, we all know that golf generates revenue pretty well. So might be a wise place to spend money. Again, just like to know as much as there is to know at this point. Thanks. Anybody else have anything? Okay, so I guess this presentation's over. We're going to be talking about now what.
If you can go through the whole parks.
What's that?
Whole parks, we're gonna have tour show. That whole park's in new. This is all within the same.
Good evening, everyone. Secretariat, Division Director for Stewardship and Planning. Today, I'm going to talk about the whole park rock. Next slide. This one already is covered in the previous presentation, and you'll see similar slides to set the stage and also to remind you that we are kind of following the same process in all of the upcoming presentations that you'll hear. Next slide. Going back to where we started a little bit, and you've seen the slide from Jay's presentation at the last board meeting. Today, we are going to talk about the red circled whole parks. That is $19 million. The way we have, I'm going to describe the way we have reached the process, the methodology that we have reached the top 10 list for the whole parks. Again, to reiterate that these are the current list, nothing is set in stone. For this, we looked at conditions assessment, and then on the where side of the place side of things, we also looked at pros analysis. And I'm going to walk us through the details of that methodology to get you to where we are now. Slide. What is a whole park? So initially, if you remember, the rock was called New Parks. We have changed the name to Whole Parks. The whole parks mean it is planning, design, and construction of an absolutely new park where no amenities currently exist, or fully renovating an existing park where extensive redevelopment opportunities exist. The reason we are combining the two is because we have this great need for maintenance and making sure there's economy of scale when we are going to maintain a park. But at the same time, if we keep maintaining things where they are, we are going to perpetuate the same inequity spatially that we see. So we are also balancing that act with new parks where parks aren't there. The total funding that we have for this, again, as I mentioned, is $19 million. Next slide. So we have, I'll go through a 3-part process. That's kind of our methodology. The first one, I'm going to talk about how we came up with our top list of new parks. Then I'm going to talk about how we came up with our top list of redevelopment parks, and then combined together to a combination top list. So what did we do for the first new parks analysis is we used PROSA. First thing we did was identify the opportunity areas, identified high and very high population density areas within a 10-minute walk shed. So once we did that, we identified what are the parks which don't have park entrances, because depending on where the entrances are, your walk shed and the people that can get to it within 10 minutes will vary. From the 420 parks that we started with, this process immediately narrowed it down to almost half of it. We ended up with 247 after this step. From this one, we moved to the step 2, which was removing parks that have already completely been developed according to the park plan that has been approved. So once we did that culling, we were left with 172 parks that we are not next going to be assessing. Next slide. Then we, again, reviewed the undeveloped parks, that 172 that we got, the parks that were without any park entrance. That process got the whole list down to 161. So you can see how we are kind of getting down from 400 to hundreds here. Then we created and implemented a PROSA scoring methodology, which gave number to whether there was high density, there was a high PARA population that is going to be impacted positively impacted by these parks, whether there's natural and cultural resources that are going to be protected. So once we did that, we got a top 13 list of parks. So this is the list that we ended up after the step 1 of new park development. Next slide. Then we looked at, okay, so these are all the new things that need to happen. But again, we have a lot more need than we have money for. We looked at the conditions assessment, and Park Ops helped us come up with this list. So this is maintenance focused redevelopment parks. That was equity focused new parks. Initially, we started off with a list of 44 parks. And the way we culled it down was to have at least 2 D and F amenities in those parks. That's how we got to the 44 parks. From that, we analyzed a list of amenities that needed to be replaced. So if it was more than 50% of the net amenities that needed to be replaced, then it went into our top 17 list. So ultimately, from that 44 parks, we ended up with a top 17 parks list that needed multiple amenities. At least more than half of the amenities in those parks were in a degraded condition that needed to be redone. So that's what we ended up with. One point to note here is we also have the deferred maintenance rock, which is different than this rock. So any of these amenities are in the park that don't get included in this list or don't get done in this bond cycle can also be included in the deferred maintenance need and can be funded through that. So again, it adds a little bit of flexibility there. Next slide. So now we have 13 parks from the new parks list, and we have 17 parks from the redevelopment parks list. We combine that to get 30 parks. We run these 30 parks once again through our PROSA lens. So now that we know things needed to be fixed, things need to be in places where they don't exist, but what can we do in terms of equity? How can we prioritize? So equity is front and center for all of the decision-making that we're doing. So project goal given to us is identify from the 30 parks now you have, what are the 10 that we can do? So again, we ran once again a 10-minute walk access model. We coordinated with our archaeology team, with our natural resource team, and then developed the top 10 list, the current top 10 list. Next slide. So this one you'll see in orange are the new parks that are going to be that we are proposing in this bond cycle. In yellow, the parks that are going to be redeveloped, and then you'll also see us at the bottom, Clemmy. So that is a special category of its own. And the way I'll kind of walk down each of these. So number one, Old Centerville Park, Old Centerville Road Park, that actually ranked very high in equity access and also in terms of 10-minute walk access to a very high population density area. So that was the top scoring park. A cost estimate, again, very rough cost estimate for new parks. Estimate is about $4 million. For redevelopment parks, we have assumed that it'll be around $3 million. Again, just a note that this is all subject to master planning, going out to the community, finding out what amenities might or might not be there. So that dollar amount is not set in stone. So we have from the $19 million, if we do the first park, we spent then $4 million, we have $15 million left. After completing all 4 parks that you see here, that is 2 redevelopment and 2 new, we'll have left in our pot of 19 million, we'll have 5 million left there. First of all, that allows for some contingencies, some needs that we are not anticipating at this moment, but also what it also does is allows us to invest in Clemmy-John-Tree to bring it up to speed. It is one of our signature parks, and we want to make sure that we are still the leader in accessible playgrounds and accessible park design. So the investment needed in Clemmy-John-Tree is significant, but we want to give it a head start with the remaining dollars from this bond, about 5 million or 4, whatever remains, and then fundraise for the remaining of what is needed for a whole redevelopment of Clemmy-John-Tree. One good thing about this list, actually what we saw was it had a equal share of redevelopment parks and new parks. So 5 redevelopment, 5 new parks. And it is very nicely laid out that almost all districts here are represented. So you'll see Sully, Mount Vernon, Hunter Mill, and Mason. They're the top 4 districts that might be getting the first set of parks. And then as we move down the list, we have Franconia, Providence, Mount Vernon, Springfield, and then Drainsville there too. And also remember Braddock has the Marjorie Moore coming up. So that's kind of included in the investment that will be putting into the districts. Next slide, and that I think is the last slide. And this kind of shows you the spatial distribution of this current whole parks list. And anything moving up and down means that some of these lists need to be changed. If we have a contingency case, if something breaks down, is a safety issue, we might have to pull a different park, which might be number 11 or 13 in the list, up and displace some of these parks to put it in a different bond cycle. But this is our thinking and this is our methodology to give us a very data-driven approach to how we are assessing and how we are prioritizing where to spend money on.
That's it. So before, Trisha did a phenomenal job. If you go back 1 slide, I think a lot of the leading up to this, so the data-driven, I was kind of prepared before she came up with the answer. I was kind of preparing everybody for the fact that in no way, shape, or form is this going to be geographic parity, right? I was fully expecting to see like, it completely, because we didn't know, right? And so this was completely organic, right? So it came out like, oh, this looks like we specifically tried to equal share, and that is not what it just worked out really, really great, which is probably going to be really, really great. The other thing I wanted to put a finer point on is, we did talk about in our needs assessment, and we are very focused on protecting what we have, which is why we're really solidifying that capital construction maintenance rock to make sure that we hold that to be able to maintain and do what we want. But for equity reasons, the answer cannot be that whoever has now is the only people who get. And so we can't not include new parks just because it's decisions that were made in the 60s and 70s cannot be where we are right now. So that is the only, so when we talk about new parks, and Torsia kind of hit on it, we talk about new parks, the litmus test for that is 100% equity and density. It's nothing, because that's the only reason why right now we would be investing in a new facility and not taking care of what we have. So that's the difference between one maintenance focused and one is. The other thing I will, the red line, kind of talked about it last time. We are in a new world when it comes to construction costs. And what this list is going to do is we are going to be working on different ways. For instance, South Lake Drive. South Lake Drive. We're going to try as much as we can to move that up to start that like tomorrow. We can figure out how we can get the proffers done to be able to do it. And that will help with like a Poe Terrace of moving that up. But when we come in to approve Old Centerville Road and then we go in and we do then we'll do the plan. Then it's, hey, would we like, I'm just making something up. Would you like to put the helipad on Poe Terrace? Everybody says, let's do a helipad. Great. That's gonna be another $1.5 million. If we put the helipad on, Poe Terrace is now below the red line. That's the decision. We're making two decisions in one. We're deciding on what we're having in and we're deciding on what we're not doing. So now we can really be looking at all of that stuff when we're sort of making decisions.
Anybody else?
No, go right ahead first.
Just two comments, and I might be missing something. At this point, I think it would be useful to at least show the last before this cut of all the parks that we were considering, because it implies that we would do those things if we had more money. And I think that that's a positive, useful thing. And another thing, I'll just cut to the chase. The Laurel Hill fields don't appear to be on here to me. And we talked about when this was first brought up, and Kyle and I were, look, you've got to give consideration to some things that were on the list before. And those particular fields were 100% funded, the last bond, and are 95% permitted at this point. And I would hope that as we get to final lists and stuff like that, those things would be considered.
We considered them, 100% considered them. We put them through the exact same thing. They did not rise to the top, so they're not in our proposal. But we did.
We started with
Over.
everything.
Yes.
There.
But the board makes the actual decision.
Yeah.
List in the future. So these are just things I'm bringing up for potential future discussion. But remember, that was a completely funded project in this bond. And because of inflation and stuff like that, I voluntarily said, okay, yes, go get things done in other magisterial districts. Of course, the expectation that it will come back in the next bond.
I think that what this does is you are all fully welcome to have the conversation. So now you tell me what's not on the list. Who's giving their park up for that? That's that. You guys are fully welcome to have that. We can even leave and you guys can propose whatever it is that you want. But the whole purpose is coming in with a data driven of how we got to where we are, so that we know that it doesn't meet we have to look at things differently. We cannot make decisions based on what we did in the past. And just because it was on a list on the past does not mean that it fits the litmus test of now we have all of these plans. But you guys are fully, I'm giving it to you to.
Yeah, we're on. It was data driven and it can still be data driven. And it's, again, for what I started with, it's useful to show what we would like to do, but we don't have money for it. And again, that would give room for moving things around. Of course, the things that are on there, I don't know for Mount Vernon, for example, I don't know a lot about, because nobody's ever brought up anything that said, hey, is this something that you think the community needs or wants at this point? I've never heard the arguments of how it qualifies. So, I think we all board members need to be a little bit more involved in these decisions and not be presented with the state of complete,
Again, we've been talking a long time about moving forward with a metric, data-driven analysis that would move us toward a more equitable approach. I think what Torsia has presented was in fact the results of that analysis. Now, with respect to your future projects, I think that's a great idea, because I think that the chart that Torsia presented shows the projects that have sifted through from that analysis to come out at the bottom and are listed in terms of priority.
Just for example, and please do not take any of this as criticism. It's intended to be productive and positive and stuff like that. For example, I'm certain that I know more about the parks, Mount Vernon district, than Torsia does. And what the needs are and what the community tends to be and that kind of thing. So that, please, that's not a dig on Torsia at all. We need to collectively, as many minds as possible, make these decisions and get put in the process.
But I think that our job is to bring you guys a proposal.
Sure.
This is the proposal. The proposal isn't done together. This is not a fait accompli. We've got 4 different other board meetings. This is giving you things to consider and whatever. If you guys would like to propose, you guys are welcome to propose, but we don't, the whole purpose of data driven is it's not opinion based. It's not, that's the definition of the two. It is not in any way, I did not have an opinion. Torsia puts it in the machine, comes back with a data driven strategy. It is not what you feel or what you think or it is data. And then in this process, we then insert all the other, stuff. So that's the charge that I've, given her, is to pop it out with a strictly data. If we want to go elsewhere, you guys are more than welcome to decide to go elsewhere.
It is being considered that we shouldn't limit ourselves to just specific data points. And frankly, if we know what the data points are, we may say, well, this data point is important too. What does everybody think? Should we be considering that? So again, we haven't been brought any of those things before now. So anyway, just all food for thought.
Right ahead.
Well, I don't have the same problem as Linwood here. Here in my district, I've been hearing about Poe Terrace. This is one of those parks acquired in the 1970s. A plan was done for it in the early 1980s. And for the next 40 years, nothing has been done. If I want to walk that park, I have to bring a machete to make it through. And this is a park that literally sits on the edge of downtown Annandale, across the street from the George Mason Regional Library. So it's got high potential use there, but nobody can use it. In fact, the really thing that got me is when I Googled Poe Terrace, when it was first brought to my attention, I got an Annandale Today article on Poe Terrace that talked about the homeless using, and that was the highest recognition that Poe Terrace has gotten. So yeah, I'm happy to see this kind of list with measurable criteria. And Poe Terrace meets it.
Yeah, it meets.
So, fortunately, the list below the cut line doesn't get touched, let's just say, in the next bond cycle. So it sits there for the next one. Will we stick with that priority? Is that the vision?
No, because once we construct the 4 parks, the equity access will change. So now
Rerun
these
them.
people, yes, we're going to rerun that, and we'll get, maybe some parks will be still there, depending on what we get, like especially the new parks that we build, the 2 new. If we get that, then it'll change some of it. The existing parks will actually not change the pros analysis. So, but
And then,
potentially it'll change.
okay, sorry to interrupt. And then if I understand how that process worked, those parks could sit there as well below the cut line. And if other funding sources, as Jay talked about, came up
Yes.
and it made sense, we could pop them in and.
100% why
Yeah,
we
yeah.
have a whole 10. So that 10 list is now, we have a list of other ones that when we're talking about potential proffer language or whatever, it's like, listen, we don't have to guess which park we want to write a proffer for. We literally have these 2. Let's combine proffers and bank that up in places that have proffers for that particular project.
Great. And I'd say it would be really helpful just to have the numbers below the cut line too. That's an easy thing. to
Sure, yeah. And we have the total list of 30. We know we can only do 4 or 5. And that's why we had the top 10. So, I mean, we basically don't have the money to do the top 10 either. It's
Right.
just,
And to that point, we're just starting to try and have conversations among some of us about how to explain that gap, right? And the importance of that gap. So that's all.
okay, I'll
And so my screen is not working, so I can't really see anything you said. But what I wonder is, did I hear you say that below that line, we've
Keep
been
talking, I'm sorry.
Okay, yes,
Sorry.
it's okay, go ahead.
No, you could go.
Okay. Did
Can
you
we
say
bring it back up? Can we
that
bring it back up?
Franconia?
Yeah,
Want me to bring it back up?
the list.
I can't see that either from here.
We should have it on the. Can you see this? Can you see this now?
Yeah. Come over.
Come over here, Dr. Carter, sit in my seat. Sit in my
I just want to, no, it's just a quick question. It's okay. Did you say that Franconia was directly under the cut line?
It's number 5 currently.
So if it's number 5, that means in order, that would be next one up?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I wanted to.
After this, but this cut line is for the whole 6-year CIP.
6-year bond.
So this is not, so Frank, Groveton Heights is not, is, there's a low likelihood, probably not, that Groveton Heights would work within this. So you're talking about the 2032 possibly being the first one up. However, Poteris, also, if we can't be strategic with like a South Lakes Drive, is really balancing because everything has to be the exact right amount. Any overage pushes Poteris down below the red line. But that's not a year, that's for the whole 6-year CIP. So that 1 through 4 is 2024 to 2032. 2026 to 2032.
I do. I've been doing this for a long time. Torsia and crew have done a tremendous job putting this whole scoring thing together. I think we need to be really, really careful about, and we take pride in being able to have an objective view and objective recommendations. We're not the Hunter Mill Park Authority. We're not the Mount Vernon Park Authority. We're not the Mason District Park Authority. This is looking organically as a whole, and that's something that we need to all support. I mean, we all got our little pet things, but we need to kind of put that aside because this is something that we've been driving for a long time, and we need to take very seriously. What I would do is I would offer an opportunity, and I know Mike Reynolds jump all over this. I think there's an opportunity that once we establish a list, I think there's an opportunity over the 6-year cycle to offer some challenges to our park foundation in terms of writing an RFP to commercial entities to say adopt one of these that may not be on the list or may be very close, and offer them the opportunity to come in and do that particular park. I think there's also a major opportunity coming up, and I won't go any farther than that, for some federal grants in communities that would deserve those types of funds to take advantage of that. So I think we need to take a holistic approach to this, and there's more. I mean, we're talking about the bond, but we're not constrained by the bond. We just need to be creative, and this kind of sets the tone for that.
I would say that I agree with absolutely every word, beginning, middle, and ends. What you said, and remember what my very first comment was about. Let's see the whole list so it shows what we would do if we had. And so I think my very first comment.
And I think that could be a slippery slope though, because if you start picking and choosing after that, it changes the work. It changes who in the organization is doing what to whom. So there's a lot of.
These are things that we're considering.
Right.
And if we can come up with more money, these are the things that we will do.
Right.
That's important on lots of levels. Public understand that, supervisors understand that, everybody understands, nothing but positive.
Yeah.
So we're trying this, sorry, go ahead, Torsia.
I was saying we would need more money to just do the top 10.
That's my point.
So we don't currently have money to do more than 4.
Uh-huh.
So even the top 10 list is our need that we don't have.
Sure.
Like, we can go down 50, we can go down to 400, but we can't even do the top 10.
And strategically, and that was part of the exercise, how far down on a backup sheet or a list do we want to go? Because any further down everything changes every time you build something and time goes by. So we could have a tornado, we could have a thing, and we can come back for the next one and be like, hey, and I'll pick on South Lakes Drive because I know because I'm gonna. And I don't know why, I'm just picking to pick on you. And we can go back the next time. It's like, hey, remember we talked about South Lakes Drive? That's now number 7 on the list because we have this, people's out. There's a huge thing in an encampment at this one park, and we really need to fix this problem. So now we're moving that up. Like everything sort of shifts and changes. So the ability to look down past number 10 to say this is even still on the list is hard because then it's going to disappear. And then we're explaining why that. But you promised me it's that big P word, right? it's the promise word that we got to get out of. It's the, you promised me, it was on last time and now it's not on before. And the more you go down there, 10, the top 10 for this whole parks list is a list that has enough there in the bottom to be able to say, okay, if we had proffers for Providence, we had something else, we can do it. If we had grant money, we had this. But if you take that $4 and $3 million down, we're going from 19 to 6, half of them were, so
35 million.
35 million. So we're talking about 30. So that is so we're going from 19 to that. That's kind of where we sort of balanced it out. Because otherwise, the more people are asking for the list, it's more to say, when are you giving me that thing? And the answer is, I might never be giving you that thing. In 2 years, it might be completely different, thing. And then I'm explaining why that thing is now not on the list. And this is the Laurel Hill Fields. I'm explaining why the Laurel Hill Fields aren't on it anymore because it was promised at this point in time. And it's just circle and circle all the time.
Sure. I will say that we do need to provide not only to the board, but to the public, the criteria by which these things were chosen. These were the criteria we used. It ranked this way for this, and it drew us to this conclusion. We need to be, in my opinion, that's
Thought that Portia's presentation today was very
No, I'm talking
clear.
about
in how
specifically.
she got to.
specifically, this park was rated this number for this number for this number for this, and it took
If you
it.
go back to the list, because it has those numbers on there, they literally listed them across.
Or more numbers, this is a simplified version, hopefully easy to digest.
The PROSA score, and there's other ones across the.
In terms of equity, how they scored in terms
I
of.
wanted also to reinforce what Bill said about this objective metric based criteria. It also helps us across the street because it says we are, it's not the previous death by 1,000 cuts of you could just add this additional project into your work plan. It's very specific in terms of how we got here and how we are choosing the measurements. And by the way, every year when we review our work plan, there may be changes to this because of demographic shifts or parity or condition changes and all the underlying factors of the metrics. So this is the best we can do at this point.
And all of the categories are going to be done very similar for if not talking about them, but the goal is to have a list of playgrounds and the same red line across, so we know where. So that when a supervisor calls and says, hey, what about this playground? Oh, it's in the top 10 or 15, or it's not in. And then we have the line is that as far as the flag is, we're going now, we estimate with our level of effort, we can do this many playgrounds, one playground, I'm making numbers up, one playground a year, so 6 in this bond. So this is like 3 bond cycles down in general. So that when to Tim's point, we can just do that. I would love to do that if you would just go ahead and call Supervisor Palchek and Supervisor Smith and Supervisor, whoever, and just ask them to forego their playgrounds. I'd love to move your playground, up. But before it created this ability to sort of live within this small blinder thing of their district and not look at the whole thing. I also want to remind everybody that part of bringing this is not only to look at the parks, but also to look at the rock. So this exercise, because we're switching to the 2-year work plan, that we're going to be bringing which one happens the first year, which one happens the second year. Here, what you're really looking at is this is what $19 million roughly gets you. So if we wanted to move that if you wanted to propose to move that red line down to like number 8, then we would come back and say, okay, now the capital renovations has now gone down to 46, which means you get half the amount of playgrounds, you get half the amount of, whatever. This, I think, does a really good balance between taking care of what you have. And also there's an economy of scale. This rock went up a little bit, mostly because once we got into the data for the redevelopment, a lot of and when I say lemons, I say it with love. Some of the parks came up as like a little bit like lemons. Once you have too many things on the list for renovation, you want to make sure everything has roughly the same age. So economy of scale, it makes more sense to redevelop the whole park than do the gazebo and the playground and then leave the basketball court. And so we're never going to come back. So that's why I think we started off with 14 million. What were we originally? Do you remember? Anybody remember originally what we talked about for whole parks? First rock. Anyway, it went up to 19, but that wasn't because we wanted to do more parks. It was, we had more redevelopment than we needed to do.
Just a little background on the number 2 park there, Woodlawn Park. One of the very first things when I came on the board was hit within the first month of 2 parks that people wanted removed. And one was in a neighborhood close to Woodlawn, across Route 1 from Woodlawn. And the park was like a nuisance. It was in the woods and it was a hangout for teenagers doing things that they shouldn't be doing and stuff like that. And I said, no, I don't want to just dispose of this thing. Let's move it, because Woodlawn's playground had been lit on fire and burned. So that was one of the very first things I was able to help implement, was moving that playground, to Woodlawn Park there. I have had, though, to just background judge it forever, whatever you want, people in the neighborhood wanting us now to remove playground because it's a hangout there at Woodlawn Park. Woodlawn Park's kind of surrounded by trees. One side of it is open and then there's a trail through some woods and stuff like that, that they think the playground is a nuisance and they would like it removed. And then there's just last thing, again, just for informational purposes. About 2 years ago, there was a body of one of the local girls in that neighborhood found in that park. So anyway, judge it for
No,
what,
it's
that's some
one
background.
of the reasons why
I
it's
think we
on.
need to redesign the park and make it more accessible, increase visibility, so that we
The
are.
neighborhood, if you were to poll the neighborhood though, they may not want it. They may not want it.
And that's why this is kind of a fluid list.
The part is
So
like, yes, that's perfectly fine.
We will.
Or just got above the red line.
Next.
Okay.
I have a question. So, how, you were mentioning that this would be recalculated because once we build a park, it changes the access. How frequently would the recalculation happen before every bond, like every time we're?
No. When we bring the work plan. So now the decision, this is the sheet that we have. When we do the 2026, so we don't even know which years that this can go because we have to fit in the cash flow. And we have the big receipt that's going to be Audrey Moore. So the next, we got to figure out when can the big, I'm rock analogy, the big pebbles go in for the cash flow, right? So Josh and everybody fit in when we can do a $4 million project and we have X amount of dollars for receipts for Audrey Moore and we can do it. But before we do it for the work plan, could you go back to the bar slides?
That's in the previous presentation.
Is it the previous presentation? So we're going to be coming in and we're going to say, okay, this isn't a real void. The parks that we're going to do aren't a real void till we come in to have you vote on the work plan. So the work plan for 2027, let's say that's the first one, which is the
So, I mean, I actually don't have an opinion as to when it gets up, but I just think it would be good to like put it on the slide. Like this is the ranking until it's reassessed at this point. Whatever that point is, even if it's not a date, even if it's like this thing.
it is. We can tell you exactly. Go back one.
Because I think that it would.
Previous one you just showed.
The anxiety around people that might be looking at it, hoping their park, their supervisors looking at it, hoping their park, they'll know like, okay, this is going to be reassessed on this date. I also, Bill, I agreed with a lot of what you had to say about the numbers and how helpful it is. And I wanted to actually tie two things together. You were talking about public-private partnerships, which I think is a great idea. And I think actually having these numbers will help you when you're pitching those private-public partnerships because you're going to be clear what the problem is, that there's a problem. And we've calculated it. And this is, we'll have a lot of data behind how we've calculated it and can pitch that more, actively, whether it's private partnerships or maybe even to the supervisors, like, we've identified a problem.
Right.
And it's like, it's one thing to say we have an equity problem, but it's a whole nother thing to have like a whole bunch of data that shows exactly where those parks are.
It gives the foundation some ammunition. I mean, we're already talking about, how we improve what we do with the foundation and make that more critical. And Mike in the past has talked about, how do we get more relationships with some of the bigger companies and what they do. And I think there's an opportunity here for us to do that with the data.
I also wanted to commend you guys because I've actually heard multiple things popping up that I know that lots of various people on the board have mentioned public-private partnerships, innovative revenue generation. I'm hearing a lot of areas where you guys are looking at numbers and trying to figure out efficient ways of doing things, and then also equity. So that's awesome. I'm really excited about that.
I just have, by the way, just already used up more than our time allocated for this committee, and we still have a long presentation to.
I just want to say, this is great. I mean, everything that you see, trying to concise this down. This is a phenomenal job. We thought maybe this is going to be one of the hardest rocks to really talk about. So I just wanted staff to really work really hard on trying to get a lot of information and data into a concise presentation. So thank you.
We still have
you.
to talk about this or
Yes,
the
good. To-
Banks Park, right?
Correct. We're gonna start, move to Banks. So back in December, we said that we would get back to the board to discuss some cheaper options for the Banks Park. And one of the things that we were aiming to do was include a philanthropic option that could be a part of the conversation. So we're here today to seek the board's concurrence with our approach. So we will, next slide, please. Go very quickly through some background, just to kind of level set to make sure we're all on the same page when it comes to the work that was done with the master plan. And then we'll move over into the concepts, which includes an option for philanthropic support. Have a view of that comparison between the options, and then make sure we're discussing the importance of site interpretation, the opportunity for this to really be a cultural neighborhood park, discuss those funding opportunities in the next step. Next slide, please. So the park has been moving forward with the set of actions following the master plan that was approved in 2011. The goal is for us to initiate a neighborhood community park with a real cultural focus that would include demolition of the house and then building some other thing that then brings that cultural history forward on the landscape and creates a nice neighborhood park. We presented some of those options and thoughts initially, the early ones back in 2025, of March 2025. And with the public input that we received, we've taken that to now revise the concepts that we're going to share with you today. Next slide. I wanted to give a sense of what we mean when we say like a neighborhood or community park. This is an example of Ox Hill Battlefield Park that's very close by here. And you'll see some similarities in terms of the perspective of what we would like to, what we're envisioning for Banks with some of the elements that you see here with this neighborhood park. You can see that there's quite a bit of housing close by, even though there's parking around by the housing, that the parking and the entrance to get to the park here, this neighborhood park, is relatively limited. There's a space for, say, 6 to 8 cars. You see a shade structure that has interpretive materials in that shade structure right there by the parking lot. There's space to circulate around a trail and some historical features, interpretive features that are there, and also a little wooded area. So it gives several ways in which people can enjoy this neighborhood space. As a person who's walked this park, it is well loved and well used. It is in a fairly dense suburban space. So it is their neighborhood park. And it's also a great place to learn about a historical feature that happened on the site. Next slide, please. So based upon the master plan, most of the options, well, the options that you'll see that we're discussing will be largely focused on the activity area here, the activity zone, where we have a few different options for what we can do with that space. The leisure space that's next to it there, to the left, includes a place for walking and a hard surface trail. There's also the potential access going to the stream restoration zone, and then also getting out to the open space that someone can do if they choose. But the majority of the action, if you will, here is looking at what to do with the space for the activity zone. So we have Adam Nguyen from our staff, and also Brendan Hannafin from our staff, who are going to walk us through several of these options. But before they do that, just to give a sense of the current state of the property. Next slide. You can see some of the existing conditions. These fantastic trees that are there on the space, access points through the neighborhood. There's already an existing picnic area close to the monumental sign referencing the family and the family history. And then, as I mentioned, there is still the access to those natural trails that go through the riparian zone all the way through the back open space. And there's also the existing house there. So to walk us through the 3 concepts and some of the differences of those concepts, I'll turn it over to Adam.
Thank you, Nigel. So my name's Adam Wynn. I'm a project coordinator with the Park Development Branch. So as Nigel kind of already stated, 3 different concepts were put together based on the comments we got from the last public meeting, but also guided by that framework of the master plan. The 3 concepts, they all incorporate enhanced accessibility with a parking area and a walking path that you'll see that kind of weaves throughout the portion of the property that fronts Old Telegraph Road. And amenities such as seating, shade, and interpretive opportunities are also present in all the concepts. But the big difference between all the concepts is the magnitude of development and the possibilities for honoring the family in the homestead. So this is concept A. It's the simplest and thus less costly of the 3. This design includes 2 parking spaces to provide accessibility, a hard surface trail loop, interpretive signage, and a bosque of flowering trees in the former footprint of the house. And then that's also kind of decorated with the corners of the footprint of the house with brick piers that you'll see in the next images. So next. So this view shows the small overlook plaza with benches and interpretive signs overlooking the house footprint. So in all of these concepts, there's a lot of consideration given into the design and how to pay homage to the past heritage. So you'll notice in this particular image that even things like the color of the benches is the same red that you see kind of on that ornate railing piers on the back of the house. So we're constantly trying to pull those elements out of the past design and really shaping this newer space with it. Move on to the next slide. So this is a view from the back of the site. So the idea here is that the trees would be a native species that would be selected to not only offer kind of a beauty to the site, but kind of be symbolic and a tie to the homestead. Next slide. This view is kind of a zoomed out view that kind of shows how the overall trail loop would wind through the site, and it would be a accessible hard surface trail. Next slide. And then finally, this is a view just from the roadway. And again, this is our least expensive option. So we would only be providing accessible and enough spaces to serve ADA. Next slide. So this is concept B. This is the mid-tier option at a cost of $936,000. So unlike the first concept, this concept would require a bit more development and would require permits with engineering drawings. This option has 5 parking spaces, a small shelter, and a terraced area within the house's footprint. Next slide. This view shows a 20-foot hexagon shade structure in that kind of same red that matches the house. And then it also has a cupola, which is also reminiscent of the cupola in the current house. The shelter would be big enough to comfortably fit 2 tables and benches around the perimeter. And then interpretive signage would be, as you can see here, kind of located on top of the ornate fencing, which is also in the style of the house, looking over the terrace space. Next slide. This is just a little bit more of a zoomed in view looking from within the pavilion. You can kind of see some of the interpretive signage and kind of see how the excavated, you could say, house terracing down, what that space looks like. Next slide. And that's a view from basically the bigger parking lot, a little zoomed out near the roadway. Next slide. So this view really shows behind the footprint of the house and how it's terraced and how stairs are leading up through the space. So it's kind of a journey through the house's footprint, and there is an opportunity for kind of small seating breakouts throughout the whole space. Next slide. Concept C is the highest priced option at 1.3 million with a larger shelter, an 8-space parking lot, and interpretive opportunities. And the exact same path as shown in the other concepts, but different from the last concept. The major change here is that we are bringing the footprint of the house up to level with the existing front of the house. So rather than going down, you're bringing everything up. And that would really be achieved by putting in new structural walls and then bringing in fill and bringing that all up. So if you could move on to the next slide. As you can see here, the shelter's in the form of the house, and it's on the right side of the footprint and has also a cupola similar to the one that exists today. The column piers would be constructed from brick repurposed from the house. And then the left side of the footprint would consist of paved areas, grass, and an overlook area. And that overlook area is approximately where the current home's porch sits today. Next slide. Zoomed in view from the shelter, looking out at the overlook area. And you can see just how the interpretive signage is incorporated in the different spaces. Next slide, please. Again, this gives you an idea of it's the same pathway as in the previous concept that really gets people throughout the site. Next slide. The view from the parking lot, as I said before, the parking lot is larger, fits eight spaces. We don't want to get too much larger than that because it is a neighborhood park, and we're really trying to keep that character. Next slide. This is a view from the kind of wrapping around the side of the raised platform, and this really gives you a good idea of kind of how it sits within the landscape. You start to see that exposed almost basement wall as you walk around it. Next slide. And then finally, this is a view from the back of the site, and we think that this wall could present a possible mural opportunity, either with the family or the community. And overall, by raising that platform and kind of having the shelter lifted up, it really gives you a nice view over that. Because the middle of the park really is a riparian area that we restored in the past, with the stream kind of going through the middle. So it really is a nice view. Next slide. I think this is the last 3D view. Again, it's just kind of showing that same view overlooking back the site, and then again, interpretive opportunity with the signage. Next slide. Site interpretive opportunities. So there's all the signage you saw in the past 3D images. I think there's opportunities for more traditional interpretive signs, but you also have opportunities for, I forget the specific, there's a name for, what is it, augmented reality, which I think is really cool, where they have kind of the White House juxtapositioned on the existing landscape. So the point is there's all types of cool ways to do this type of interpretation. It's not just the your typical basic interpretive signs. And then as far as the content goes, some of the things that we outlined were Banks Family Legacy, Banks Auto Parts, local environmental history, and then also Carrolltown and local Black history. Next slide. This is kind of a nice matrix that gives you a breakdown between the concept comparisons. As I said, Concept A does not require any permitting or and therefore a consultant. So we're able to get this price down at $366,000, while Concept B and C are on the higher side because they do require permitting and site drawings and consultants. Because of that, Concept A, is proffer funded, while Concepts B and C would need some type of more funding or fundraising. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Nigel.
Just one clarifying question. So with the materials you referenced in the third option, the bricks, for instance, can be used in the new developed space. Is that an option for all three or just for that one option?
So the bricks can be reused in all three of the scenarios. So if you remember the images for concept A, it had the brick piers kind of demarcating the corners of the house. Those same bricks could be used there. If we put bricks in the paving in concept 2, they can be reused there. And then of course also in the more expensive giant pavilion option.
If I may also, Adam, also in terms of between E and C and how much assuming funding would be available, how much difference in timeline with the additional permitting required? What's the rough timeline for A versus B and C?
I think A, we could start a lot more immediately. I mean, where B and C would be, a lot further out because we would have to go through our typical process, which is county site plan review once we have the funding. So you're looking a year plus, out.
To give time for the fundraising as well.
Yeah.
So next slide. To wrap up that again, we already have the permitting and also the funding available for the demolition of the home. It's a matter of then whether or not we move forward with concept A, or if we decide we want to proceed with fundraising, and depending on how much we can fundraise to, gives us a sense of whether we go to option B or option C. One option is that, we could set the goal that we're gonna go for the stars and just see over a period of time, be it a year and a half, 2 years, give us a time limit on that, since we know we'd have to go through that initial part of the permitting anyway, and see what funds we have, and then essentially design and build toward that. But the goal here is for us to get your concurrence on this approach, for us to make use of these 3 options, using funds that we have now, or working with our partners and friends for fundraising to get to a higher level of development here.
So my understanding that this action that we would take tonight would not choose one of these 3 options. It would just say all 3 of them are good, or are you going to ask us to choose them?
I wasn't asking tonight to choose one of these 3, but just to provide concurrence on our approach that we have to either move forward with concept A, where we can move forward now, or working with partners to see if we would like to fundraise. So if that's an approach that you agree with, we're just asking for your concurrence on it.
I don't see any downside to that, but I don't really see an advantage to it either. When we should probably make a final decision, and we should just make it. And, I'm prepared to make it sooner rather than later, deferring to what Cynthia thinks is best. But one more thing, and so these are all questions and mostly directed to you, Cynthia, about how you want to proceed. I do know that we have speakers tonight that want to talk to this, that I'm sure will have some influence on guiding us forward. So my questions to you, Cynthia, what do you think? Do you want to go forward? And then just your overall thoughts on it. Want to maybe put a vote off until, the next meeting. I'm not trying to delay, but just to hear what our speakers have to say tonight. Anyway.
Okay. Well, first I would say these are excellent renderings, and a lot of thought has gone into it. I can tell that. That's wonderful. That's one. 2, I'll cut to the chase, and I will say concept C to me makes the most sense. Yes, there can be a campaign, there can be fundraising for that. One reason that I say that concept C would be best is because I believe that there are some income opportunities laced in concept C with the larger structure. And we had a conversation about this. I even asked about, is there any way that there could be like rentals or something like that? And concept C lends itself best to that. And maybe architects could even come up with a movable wall or something that could wall it in just a little bit for inclement weather. So I have a lot more thoughts, but I want to leave time for others to say that. But that is actually a neighborhood that I'm very well familiar with. It's my neighborhood, to be honest. And I know, having served on the Kingstown board for 20 years and hearing all kinds of things all the time. I know that the neighboring Kingstown there, and I think they would have feelings about it. And I think they would like to, if they see the house demolished, it would almost be an insult for just 2 more benches to be added or something like A and B. So I think to get buy-in from the community, you have to give them something that looks to me to be well thought out and worthwhile. So
what are your thoughts on what we should do tonight as action, if any?
if we want to go ahead with C, if that's where we are,
That's
I'm ready to move forward with that.
with C.
Yes. But what do other people think?
Anybody else have any thoughts?
I just had a quick question either for Dr. Carter or Angel about, has the community seen these concepts yet or no?
The first time we're sharing them with them.
Okay.
That's why we're not prepared to have you guys necessarily. It's really the idea.
concept.
Concept.
If nobody wants to do if nobody wants to do it's really the 900,000.
What are we
Nobody
behind
wants to
to
do.
provide to the community next?
Correct. So
Yeah.
that now I think that going, it's like a nesting doll, right? So going with the $900 still puts the other ones on the table. So everything's prepared. If you guys all want to go for the quicker answer, then that does not put the $900,000 on the table. We would not even propose that to the community. So the fact that if you guys are moving forward with that one, then we will then move forward with the options for the 3, and then we can work on time frame for fundraising and then figure out what we can, establish. But we always have the other options. It's not an all or nothing thing.
So.
Does the nature of the park change with C versus A and B in terms of the activity levels because of the size of that shelter?
I think more activity possibilities would exist with C, actually. More family time, more things to do, more interpretive areas.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking about the management of that. Is this going to be a staffing issue in terms of supporting this? Is this going to be a rentable facility? Is it going to be, or is it going to be walk up? Is it first come, first serve? Those are the kinds of, I understand C, but I think C introduces a whole new level of park than A or B do, just because of the numbers and the parking spaces and all of that. So I just want to make sure that we're clear with the community what those directions are for each one of those, because each one of them has a different function.
And so it's a cart versus the horse. And so it's not, if we pick to move forward with 3, C, with C, that doesn't, so now we're going to go back to the community and we're going to be talking about C and all of those things that we're talking about. And we might come back and say, hey, the community really wants a smaller, non-rentable facility. So we've modified that to do those things. And then we bring back the final idea. I think it's both the rentable and the revenue generating. 3C would definitely have an OBI operating budget impact just because of the amount of trash that comes with that many people and the maintenance with the tiers. So there's that factor that we'd have to factor in for the final thing. It's also the parking, right? Adding the 3 and adding more parking makes people able to not just walk to drive to enjoy the park, as opposed to option 1, which only had the 1 space and the 1 handicap. That's more of a neighborhood park. So it's really just serving that one sort of group. So it opens it up. And I think that that's a good thing, not a bad thing, but I think that that's all things that we would have a conversation with the community, that we're not asking you to decide now. We're asking you to decide on the what we're taking to the community as the options.
As the package.
Mhm.
The ABC.
One more point. A, as it stands now, the parking, you really have to take your life into your own hands right now. Backing out or trying to get in and everybody zooming by. That's, I'm not sure where the 5 or 8 spaces would be, but I don't think they are along.
Goes down the driveway a little bit.
Yes, that's safer. Trust me.
Yeah, that parking backs right out. It's actually located in the VDOT right away, and I think it was just existing gravel that was there
Yeah.
at some point.
So am I you're still where you were,
Yes,
which I think is a good way to describe that we proceed with the process with an emphasis on C. Does that summarize it well?
I think so.
Do we have consensus for
Yeah,
that?
well, let me ask one other question. So you had implied that you would be willing to take the lead on raising funds for this. Was that still your position, or?
In conjunction with the Park Foundation. Yes.
Consensus to move it forward with the emphasis on C.
I think that, sorry, before you do that, just to put a finer point on your point, we will, when we go out, we will make it very clear that without the, because this is the camel's nose under the tent, without the fundraising aspect, the money that we have in proffers is finite. And so we want to make sure that it's very clear that we can't, the funds don't come in, then we are, might be by nature stuck down with A. I just want to make that. Or B, right, okay.
I don't think we eliminate
Right now.
A and B until we get the fundraising under control.
100%.
Process with the emphasis on C.
Yeah.
That's nothing I'm excluded.
Correct.
Consensus?
Yes.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Brenda.
We all done, Nigel? Thank you very much.
Nigel.
Sorry to the next meeting time so bad. See all things I've discussed.
These are pretty quick. Josh, these are pretty quick.
Missed the
Be pretty quick.
The mic guy,
element here is adjourned.
You, the budget committee is our next situation here. I am the new chair, Rick Healy. Thank you for joining. I want to thank the Business Administration Division for the great job that they do, and I'm very pleased to join you in partnership. And Josh, take it away.
Thanks. Josh Coleman, Business Administration Division Director. Rick Chandler is going to take us through Park Authority CFO, 2 items tonight.
Next slide, please. Next slide. This is informational. This is the general fund. The third quarter review. This is the time of year for the third quarter review with the county. At that time, we go and ask for any adjustments to the budget that we think need to be made based on factors, when we get to revenue, such as revenue increases and things like that. With the general fund, this is where we just went in and said, hey, here's some money we would like if there happens to be some extra money that the budget has. We've done that in the past. And the 3 items that we put forward to them are, for those of you that were on the board last year or the year before, are similar to the items that were there before. The Rec Center Wellness Project, we asked for $5 million. That is really to cover the maintenance associated with this, as you all know, the old rec centers that we have from the 70s and 80s have a lot of deferred maintenance. And so this is to provide maintenance for the rec centers. And then we asked for $3 million for the CIP. This is really to help with the cash flow issues associated with the bond. And then undertaking a playground study in conjunction with the schools and NCS to look comprehensively at all the playgrounds across the county, not just Park Authority playgrounds, and to do a comprehensive study and look at all the playgrounds. So that is what we've asked for the general fund. That'll play out over the next month and a half or so as we go through the third quarter review process. Questions on the general fund request?
Questions? Seeing none.
Next, skip to revenue. Oh yeah, so that's just the overall where we stand. Next. Okay, the revenue fund. Essentially, we've gone in and asked, submitted to the county and asked for your approval for increases associated with the revenue fund. Luckily, we are seeing increased revenue, primarily due to golf operations that has been talked about earlier this evening, as well as the stand-up of Mount Vernon Rec Center. The take rate at Mount Vernon has been, I think, higher than anticipated since its reopening last year, and we have a lot of revenue coming in for that. Consequently, we also have more expenses being generated as a result of reopening Mount Vernon. So we've gone in and asked for increases to both the revenue and expenses. So a total of, we estimate, almost $5.3 million in additional revenue. But an additional $3 million in expenses for a net balance of $2.2 million. We're pleased.
That's good. This is good.
Good problem to have.
I told you guys.
I think next time you just put a
They get
smiley
more
face or a
spend
sad
less.
face next to it, so I know how to react.
Any questions on this?
I assume that increase in golf revenue was last summer and fall.
Yeah, the fall.
Winter has not been a favorable, so.
But luckily the snow
Nice that
melted
that
quickly
was
and
okay.
people are getting back out there on the golf courses.
My understanding is that we will need to do action on this one, right? The other one is informational. This fund, we will be asked to act. So that's correct. If there's any further questions or concerns, expect that in the next round.
But today,
I think it
that's
needs to
today.
now.
That's tonight.
No, is there consensus to?
Your consensus to move on that?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll adjourn the budget committee.
Good job.
I think we'll probably be adjourned for about 20 minutes while we have our dinner break.
You sure?
So I think- Excited. Okay, I call the park board meeting to order. It's 7:40. And Andy, do we have any speakers for public comment?
We do, and I'm Andy Grable, Public Information Officer at the Park Authority. We have 3 speakers this evening, Carolyn Summers, Tammy Manarino on behalf of the Inventory Committee of the Fairfax County History Commission, and Eve Stalker. Now, before we hear from our first speaker, I just wanted to remind everyone of our public comment rules here. Each speaker will have 5 minutes apiece to speak, and I'll be keeping time. So if you hear from me asking you to conclude your remarks, please do so promptly. And so our first speaker, Carolyn Summers, will be virtual, and our second 2 speakers will be here giving testimony in person. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Carolyn Summers for her remarks.
Summers, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Well, great. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Number one, I'm here on behalf of the family. We always thought and believed that our home would be preserved as a part of the Banks Park and the Kingstown area. That's the first statement I'd like to make. Number two, we always looked at when it was first the acquisition that it would be open green space where it would be serene, quiet, free from some of the other activities that you see at other parks, such as a lot of the pavement that you're speaking of right now throughout the park. I can tell that there's time and consideration as you've thought out Plan A, B, and C. C would represent the nature of the home. However, I would be concerned with the amount of volume, the noise, the amount, not just the noise, but the amount of that the property would be disturbed, the terrain and the building and the parking and that nature. It would take away from the first onset of the open green space, and still looking at the going once again back into the community. 98% of the community has stated that they would love to see the house preserved and used for a community, even if it's a structure or a portion of the house that could be built, such as an atrium. I'm hearing loud and clear that I don't know, you want to move forward. I believe as the house stands right now, it is not pleasant to look at because it's set so long under the stewardship of the Fairfax County Park Authority and kind of, wasted in certain areas. It's been boarded since 2011. And so that's my concern. As I speak on behalf of the community, Kingstown deserves the best. The neighborhood deserves the best. The people in the community of Franconia deserve the best. And that's what I know Mr. Banks wanted for the community there and for the, surrounding neighbors. That's what I have to say, and thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Summers. Ms. Amarino.
I have a wing woman with me today. So this is Commissioner Toddy Carnes, also of the History Commission. So my name is Tammy Manarino. If you've heard, I'm a local historian in Fairfax County, specifically the Mount Vernon district. And I'm familiar with some of you from that role and also from the Fairfax 250 Commission. These organizations have productive partnerships with the Fairfax County Park Authority, and we enjoy the opportunity to work collaboratively. Many of you may be familiar with Commissioner Carnes from her work on the Fair Parks Initiative. She may be relatively new to the History Commission, but she brings a wealth of knowledge and skills with her. And we identified right off that that we would like her to help us to expand our existing relationship with the Park Authority and identify new areas to pursue our mutual goals together. So we're both thankful to be here speaking to you today. I'm going to focus specifically my comments as chair of the Inventory Committee within the History Commission. The Inventory Committee happened to have a regularly scheduled meeting last night, and we discussed the Banks property at length, and people were very interested in it. And they asked that I come tonight to clarify the record regarding the eligibility of the Banks property for the Fairfax County Inventory of Historic Sites, which of course impacted its ability to be in the resident curator program. The Inventory Committee is also interested in being included in this project moving forward. So interpretation, of course, is very important to us, and accurate facts are important. And speaking of accurate facts, we want to make clear that the History Commission has made no determination of eligibility or ineligibility of the Banks property for the Fairfax County Inventory of Historic Sites. Following the December meeting, we were all, pretty confident that we had not seen a nomination for the Banks property, but we did our due diligence. We went back and looked into our minutes. We asked the Department of Planning and Development, which sort of serves as our inbox for nominations. They check through the completeness of the nominations before we receive them. And then we checked with the former chair of the Inventory Committee. And so we confirmed we have no evidence of receiving a nomination for the Banks property. As far as National Register, that's the purview of the Department of Historic Resources in Virginia. What I will share with you is that there is a report that we co-sponsored with the Department of Historic Resources. This is African American Historic Resources in Fairfax County. There is a write-up on page 71. I won't read it to you now, but that has an assessment of the Banks property in terms of National Register. The final thing that I wanted to add, as I mentioned before, the Inventory Committee and also the History Commission is interested in this project moving forward. We would love to be an advisor on this project, and we would also provide this one piece of advice now, which is after looking at your options for A, B, and C, we would recommend that you take them to the Architecture Review Board. You may be familiar with them as a regulatory board in Fairfax County. They are very helpful. You are certainly not required to take them there, but they are a free resource for you of experts, of award-winning experts. And so I think they would be very interested in this project, and I think they would give you very valuable feedback. So that's all I have to say. I'm available. I can give you my contact information later if you have questions. So thank you for letting us speak. Well, letting me speak. Jody was my silent partner.
Sure, appreciate that.
Thank you.
Stalker.
My name is Eve Marie Stocker, and I have lived as homeowner on the perimeter of the Banks Family Neighborhood Park for over 23 years now. And I've followed the process for the park plan from the beginning. And I just want to thank all the staff and all of you for listening to the community. I represented quite a few of my neighbors in the park plan process, collected signatures from my neighborhood, which is Chatsworth, 90 homes. The other side of the park, about 80 homes, and then also Hayfield View, which across Old Telegraph Road from the park. And back then, we were glad to see the plan sort of settle on preserving this oasis, which I think, you know, we all are sensitive to everything that Mr. Banks did for the community and leaving us this treasure. And it is a small park. It's a neighborhood park. It can be easily overwhelmed. The ground is sort of like a bowl shape, so sound carries a great deal. So we all are aware of the peaceful nature of this park. We witness students from Hayfield Elementary and high school walking back and forth in the park, and you can see them transformed by the peacefulness, the tranquility. Kids linger in the park after school to visit and actually talk to each other and interact that way, develop just their appreciation of nature, and just spend time in the great outdoors. I really appreciate the staff's attention to these concepts, because one thing my neighbors and I are concerned about is security. The park is not highly visible from roadways or even from our homes. Maintenance is an issue now. There's a lot of overgrowth for the trails. Just as stewards of this oasis, I hope that you take into consideration the fragile nature of this park with the stream going through it. And the potential for any of these concepts, which are all lovely, but the more parking, the more likely there might be, nuisance problems, vandalism. And we would hate to see that, because, that would really be just terrible. So we're also a little concerned about the additional parking and whether that would overwhelm this small property. I had a couple questions. I want to leave time so that you can ask me, so I can help inform.
Our messenger doesn't permit us to
I see.
interact, so.
So my points to the staff and to you, and considering these options, is the existing parking that was noted that is not very safe by the historic marker that is there. I don't know if those parking spaces would be further developed, or are you talking about just the only parking would be near the side of the house, which would be more safe? My personal opinion is I think 8 spots might be too much, but if you have that option C, you might need them. Again, I'm a little concerned about the overwhelming nature of too much of a structure. All of my neighbors and I think that the legacy of the Banks family should be preserved. We all think it's a tragedy that the house cannot be preserved, but we really want their legacy to be preserved and the history of the area culturally and historically. That's all I have. Thank you.
Very much. Okay, proceeding to our agenda. First item is a board resolution to honor Dave Fallard, manager at South Run Rec Center, for 30 years of service. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
And a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. So here we have resolution to honor Dave Fallard. Whereas Dave Fallard has served the Fairfax County Park Authority and Fairfax County residents with distinction as a Park Services Division staff member and rec center leader for 30 years, has fostered a fun, supportive, and hardworking environment for staff to grow and thrive at South Run Rec Center, and has made a difference in the lives of his colleagues and in the recreation experiences of the community on land, water, and in the air. Whereas Dave's leadership was instrumental in building a close-knit community among rec center staff, which has contributed to strong employee retention, including creating a well-received old tradition. He has been a reliable advocate for staff and has ensured that they are supported and empowered to perform the best of their abilities. Whereas Dave has championed and overseen enhancements to recreational facilities for the enjoyment and benefit of Fairfax County. He managed the addition of the Go-A Ropes course, great program, by the way, and playground renovation at South Run Park, and pushed for the installation of a beach mural painting in the rec center pool area to enhance the ambience and aid swim lessons. Whereas his vision and leadership have strengthened the park authority in lasting ways, Dave's impact will be felt for years to come, and his distinguished service is aligned with the gold standard of what it means to serve. Now therefore be it resolved by the Fairfax County Park Authority that it expresses appreciation and thanks to Dave Falvord for his outstanding contributions to the Fairfax County Park Authority and residents of Fairfax County, adopted by the Fairfax County Park Authority Board on March 11th, 2026.
Get a quick picture.
The floor is yours.
I wasn't prepared to say anything. Thank you. I don't like it being the center of attention. So I'll leave it at that. It's been a great run. We're gone very, very quickly, 30 years, plus a few more years part-time before that kicked in. It's been a great ride. I'll be back as a customer and I was come back and ask to see the manager.
You doing it for the shield?
Point out certain things.
Yeah, well, take a picture.
So I usually do this at other things, but I feel like people in the back have to help me out here. Hold on. Wait. Don't, no.
And she gets.
Yeah. People in the back, you guys know your role, have to help me out when I pull this out and I go, what are we supposed to do? You guys know what's in here? Yeah, wait. So the first time I did this is the gold pass. Oh, it's silver. Oh, no, it's gold. So go ahead, guys. Here we go. So the first time I did a retirement, I had no idea what this was. I had been here for a week and a half. I pulled it out and everybody like lost their minds and said, ooh, wow. So now it's like, that's the main thing, which is this is worth the ride. So that's the first thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then the other stuff is like, I did do the ooh and the ah.
Under the shield or we're over here.
I think that'd be perfect. Do you want to take us out or what do you want? No. Oh, yeah, come on. Sarah, you want to come? Oh, Sarah's coming.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
No. Yeah, there we go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Don't leave it with me.
So Cynthia, we move to the second item, the adoption of the minutes from the February 25th, 2026 Park Authority Board meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Say aye. Action items. Approval of FY 2026 third quarter budget review, fund 80,000 revenue and operating fund.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Carries. Next item, consensus to move forward with the Olander and Margaret Banks Neighborhood Park concepts as presented to the Planning and Planning Development Committee meeting this evening. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion of this?
I have a question, actually. So the design concepts that we currently have, are they Are those the final design concepts, or they're just sort of like the starting point and then there's gonna be adjustments made based?
Starting point for the design, the general concept of the removal of the house, then the three things in general, but we have to take it to the public because we've shown them, generally speaking, what we're talking about. So now we're seeking, because to talk about the design in general, then we have to take it to them and then switch it up based on if they wanted a smaller pavilion or whatever it is, and then we would come with the final. And what we'd also come with is also the timing for what we want to, because we don't want to do this for 20 years. So we need to also establish how long we're going to give for the fundraising and what the goals are and what.
Discussions with the foundation and Cynthia. So that's right. No further discussion, consensus to adopt this next steps. Is there a motion? Motion.
It's been seconded.
Okay, so, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries. Okay, information item, we had presentation on the next phase or next step in the 2026 bond program. Chairman's matters. I have nothing other than Jay and I have been going around meeting with the supervisors and with the chairman on the budget for this year, at least as far as the advertising goes. Jay will probably talk about that more. Those meetings have been going very well. All the supervisors to whom we've talked so far think we are doing great things. I realize the resource constraints. We're talking about maybe ways to help out, particularly in the CIP area, how we might improve cash flow or the funding available there. But overall, great reception. You've got terrific people at the helm here in the county. So, and thank you for staff. I'm spending a lot of time with staff these days too, as well. Appreciate it, Jay.
Okay. I wasn't going to talk about it, so thank you for. So we had the Grit and Grain at Coven Run Mill, was one of our Black History Month celebrations. We invited the community to Coven Run Mill to explore the vital role African Americans played in the 19th century grist milling. Participants toured a historic mill and discussed the contributions of African American millers, highlighting how their labor experience and knowledge shaped milling operations in Fairfax County, and also supported the 250th and Fairfax 250 commemorations. So thank you to, that's a great pick. I've totally seen this multiple times, but that is a great picture in the bottom of the three of you guys.
Thank you.
With Tim, Supervisor Bierman and Nigel. It was really a great program. I know Deidre was there as well. So it was a fun time. Next slide. Women's History Month. So we go from from February and Black History Month right into Women's History Month. So we wanted to celebrate the extraordinary women who provided the inspiration, leadership, or vision that contributed to the creation of many of our parks. The month of March provides an opportunity to celebrate the accomplishments and impact of these women and the Park Authority's nationally recognized park and recreation system. Here are just some of the things, programs that we have going on in the month of March. Of course, we celebrate just as Black History Month and all the other history months. We celebrate women all the time, but specifically here are some really great programs. International Women's Day, the marketing communications created a really great, what do you call it, Adria? Sheet or something, the thing that's on the screen. It has a lot of photos from some of our great staff from out in the field. Those are organic Fairfax County Park Authority employees, and I think it's a really great addition. So, Astronomy Fest on March 7th, community members enjoyed activities and hot chocolate, which is an important part, at Observatory Park at Turner Farm. That includes stargazing, telescope, looking through telescope and listening to ancient stories about the constellations around the campfire. If you haven't ever been to Turner Farm, I will say, or if you never actually looked through a professional telescope, I highly encourage you to do so. You go and then it's like, oh, that's Saturn, like with the rings, like that. I know that sounds, but the ability to see Saturn and the rings and the gases, it's just, it's phenomenal. So I highly recommend anybody to go to Farmers.
Jay, just wanted to let you know, we have our next Friday night viewing actually this Friday. So you're welcome to come for.
We will send it
Love
out.
to see you.
Can we send the information out?
Send it out.
To everybody to come. It really is a unique experience and one of the unique things that we have to offer in our parks. Next time. Rest in peace, Fluffy. So Fluffy was Hidden Pond's beloved snapping turtle. And he recently passed away at the ripe old age of 25. From field trips to Camp Memory, for 15 years, Fluffy inspired awe, curiosity, and a respect for wildlife. So if you went on a field trip, which a lot of the residents of Fairfax County did, to Hidden Pond, you met Fluffy. So Fluffy was a very integral part of the nature and the everything. I met Fluffy when we went out to our employee sort of a camp tours. And so we're grateful for the wonder he sparked and the lessons he leaves behind. Some of the comments we received on social media when we announced Fluffy had passed was, my daughter volunteered for years at Hidden Pond. We knew Fluffy well. We were also sad. Farewell, dear Fluffy. I know they have all the bluegill and crayfish you can eat at the Rainbow Bridge. So it's really a testament to how connected our residents not only get to our parks, but with some of the creatures and critters and other amenities that we have. We experienced that with the tragic passing of one of our draft horses at Frying Pan Farm Park. It was so sudden. And then so we have things that you don't think of in this role is dealing with grief or staff having to deal with staff who are grieving. It was akin to a car accident. So when the draft horse had died, nobody was prepared for it. So they left and they came back, and this really beloved animal that they had worked with for so long. And so it really is, it's grieving just like you would grieve anything else. So rest in peace, Fluffy. I'm just so happy that so many people connect with some of the things that we do so much so far as to send us heartfelt messages. Next slide. Oakmont Adaptive Swimming. On March 7th, we had athletes who gathered at Oakmont Rec Center to put their skills to the test at the Fairfax Park Authority Adaptive Swim Meet, which is a really awesome event. FCPA Special Olympic Swim Team gathered at this event to showcase their skills, gain confidence, and prepare for upcoming competitions. This time trial is more than just a qualifier. It's a celebration of perseverance and teamwork. I love the amount of people who came out to cheer these athletes on. It's really a great event. Another one that I highly suggest that you attend if your schedule permits next year. Next slide. Okay, Nature Walk with a Cop. On March 7th, families joined a naturalist at Hidden Oaks Nature Center, Fairfax County Public Safety, for an interactive stroll along the nature trail, exploring forest habitats by rolling logs and searching the forest floor for signs of wildlife. Participants learned how to safely observe nature like true detectives, with support from an officer from the Fairfax County Police Department's community outreach team. So again, really awesome. It's amazing how many kids just want to get locked into the back of the police car, which is fine. We are amenable to all of those things. Yes, exactly. Turn it on. Yep. Next slide. Sometimes the parents who ask to have the kids. Frying Pan Farm Park Carousel update. On January 2026, we had an inclement weather event that caused significant destruction to the carousel at Frying Pan Farm Park. Seeing the opportunity to improve the amenity for patrons and avoid disruption of the signature park experience, we have started replacement plans. We wanted to note the carousel is not historic, nor is it part of the FCPA's permanent collection. If you remember, we had to come for some of the horse conversations for the previous one. That is not the case for this one. So removal of the carousel will take place in spring 2026. If you're not familiar with Frying Pan, it is a lot of young children. It's probably the second stroller brigade that we have to maybe Clement Jontry, the amount of young kids. And so that carousel, wildly popular, playground, wildly popular. We're probably going to be putting the, yes.
He's grieving about that.
I'm grieving about
the carousel. Okay, there we go. I don't have to, we'll be coming with options in general, just as a very good example of things that are not, that we don't prepare for, that come up. And I will preempt the idea that carousels are probably more expensive than any of you guys could imagine. There's just yes. Next slide. Team USA Speed Skaters are coming to Mount Vernon Rec Center. So FCPA and United Capital Blades will host 4 Team USA Speed Skating Olympians from the Milan Cortina Winter Games on Friday, March 27th from 6:30 to 8:30 at Mount Vernon Rec Center. So guests will meet the Olympians for a Q&A session, autographs, photos, and a live speed skating demo. These are just 4 of the athletes, fresh off of
Bill raced them.
Bill should absolutely know. You know who we need to have race them is Pat Harity. So if we can get Pat Harity out there to race them, that would be an event, because he's probably the best person. Yeah, nice. Mike's not here to have heard say that. So some upcoming events. So we have on Monday, March 16th, We have our Federation of Friends meeting here at the Heritage Building. You're all invited to attend that on Tuesday, the 17th of March. We have Dranesville Tavern Resident Curatorship Program public meeting at the McLean Community Center. And then we start sort of the Easter season with Baskets and Bunnies at Berkeley Park on the 4th of April. And then on the 11th of April, it's Bluebell season. If you've never been to Bluebells at the Bend, it's a wonderful event, and Bluebells are usually cooperate, and hopefully they'll cooperate this year to have a really wonderful event. Saturday, the 18th of April is the Horse Expo. If you have any equestrian loving friends or care about horses in any way, shape, or form, you can join 4,000 to 6,000 of your friends at the Horse Expo. It is a wildly popular event. You can see a whole bunch of different breeds of horses, and it's just, you have kids, like it's a do not miss.
If they're early.
If they're early. They're early. It's a big event. And then on the 18th, we're very proud that we'll be having the ribbon cutting at Mount Vernon Woods Park at 10 a.m. And so that's our newest park. We're very excited to finish the entirety of that park. We're waiting on the skate park to be finished construction. Excited. That's it. That's it.
Okay.
And a couple things coming up. You know, you guys will be getting. We'll be starting with the farmers markets. Will start up in a couple months, so that will start to happen. And then we can put it in the email. And I meant to say it when we did the Women's History Month thing. We're still doing the collections, right? The period collections. Okay, so we are partnering with Supervisor Palchek and the BOS. We're going to be doing throughout the month of March. We're going to be collecting period pads, tampons, period amenities. Thank you. Menstrual products. Thank you. I got stuck on here. Menstrual products. So please encourage people to donate. It really is a financial barrier to a lot of women, especially women experiencing homelessness. So it's a really wonderful thing to contribute to throughout the month of March. I'm done.
So Director's Matters, let us go first to online. Abena, if you would be so kind.
Thank you. I'll pass.
Faisal.
I'll pass.
Rick.
I'll pass.
Linwood.
Pass.
Cynthia.
I'll pass.
Bill.
Pass.
Mike.
I just wanted to thank Nigel and Torsia and crew. We had a meeting shared with Chairman Hackman on Tyson's, so thanks for that and for all the questions of late.
Jose, thank you.
I just want to thank the staff again for all of that hard work that went into all the presentations today. Really phenomenal. Thank you.
You know, and I pass.
So we have a closed session coming up next, and that means that unauthorized people, so to speak, to vacate the room.
Can I go home now?
Them. Oh my goodness, to see you. I didn't know you first and then what? Somebody meant to read the beginning first. Sorry. That you were late and I was like. You don't have to leave yet.
Motion to go.
I'm happy. They don't have to leave yet. Oh, they don't have to leave. Yeah. Not out. It doesn't matter. No, that's fine, but.
You can read.
Picking up my daughter, but usually I'm there, so.
Seriously, don't reach out. So I'm not gonna say to.
Yes, and convene, and we're happy to finish discussion and consideration.
Yeah. I saw you. We did.
2-3711 and listed in the agenda for this meeting as follows. Discussion or consideration of the acquisition of publicly owned real property for a public purpose or of the disposition of publicly held real property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body. Pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711 A3. Discussion of land acquisition items. A property in the Cooper Mill District.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries, and we are now in closed session. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. So then we go back on the record for the certification, correct? Once the recording is started. It started. Okay. Dr. Carter, the certification motion, please.
I move the Park Authority Board certify that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under Virginia Code 2.2-3711, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, and considered in the meeting by the board.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those, okay, sorry, this is a roll call vote. So we will do it alphabetically. Dr. Ebenedu Houghton.
Aye.
Bill Bowie.
Aye.
Dr. Cynthia Jacobs Carter.
Aye.
Linwood Gorham. Aye. Rick Healy.
Aye.
Faisal.
Aye.
Jose.
Aye.
Mike Reynolds.
Aye.
Mike Thompson is not here. Jonah.
Aye.
And I also vote aye. Bill.
I would like to make the motion to approve the staff recommendation to add the property in the Hunter Mill District to the land management work plan.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. That concludes the meeting. Unless there.
Second one. Second.
CIP dollar.
To use the remaining CIP funding.
Two.
So what?
It would be.
Yes,
So the
so is there a motion to move to use the remaining CIP dollars to purchase the property?
Move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion of that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion also carries. That concludes the motions following the closed session, and the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Yeah.
No second.
Oh, there's not.